they come in wanting to write from their ego. And the first thing that I, as the person working with you, has to do is give you a bit of an ego death. And that's the portion of truth that you dislike me greatly for, right? Because it's super uncomfortable because your whole persona, that mask that you have worn is that I'm so fucking cool. I'm so amazing. I've done all this, blah, blah, blah. And my job isn't to deter that, but my job is to start to peel the corner of the mask and say, well, what about this?
So you found it, the soul of connection. If you're succeeding at everything except the relationships that matter most, this is for you. I'm Tressie Yonakawa, brain science, no fluff, real change. So welcome to the Soul of Connection. I am here with a woman that I'm going to say respect, honor, adore. And I want to tell the story about how we met. But I want you all to know Crystal Adair-Benning, a woman who's been married more times than I have fingers on my hands, and who helps people bring your soul, your work, your writing into the world. And you do that in amazing places all over the globe. So welcome, Crystal. Thank you so much for your time. I know you are so busy right now. And you are coming to us from where?
I mean, I'm currently in Toronto, Canada, but normally I'm out on the West Coast in Victoria, BC, Canada. So, yeah.
Beautiful places. And what's the weather where you are right now?
Colder than a witch's tit.
And that's Crystal. All right, so will you tell us what you do? What do you love about what you do? And what's the impact of what you do in the world?
I've had a couple of main career paths, if you will, in my life. And I think everything always comes back to the word love. You know, I tell stories as a storyteller. That is my gift. Whether I was doing it through the creation of a large scale event. So I was a luxury wedding planner for a couple decades, whether I was telling love stories through those events, or whether I'm telling a love story on paper with a client as their ghostwriter, their co-collaborator, or their book coach, it's always come down to love. And I even, my first book for myself was all about how love literally saved me from divorce, from bankruptcy, from major health crisis. And it's always been about love. That's been the secret sauce.
And that shows in who you are as a human being. And the first time we met, one of our mutuals, Shauna Taub,
yes,
had sent a message saying, my very dear friend Crystal is going to be at this gathering that you're going to, this mastermind. Please be nice to her and please know her. And so I walked in and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I like Shauna, and I'm sure I'll like whoever she likes. So I walked in. You are in pink heart-shaped glasses. You are those.
Always with me. Yep.
And I still have a video recording, a grainy video recording on my phone, that of you talking about marketing and self-branding. Mm-hmm. And just, you were bigger than life. You were the most radiant being in the room. And I was just like enraptured from moment one. So I'm so glad that it was mutual and that we become friends.
It is. Yeah.
I think from that moment where I was like, oh my God, this girl's real. Like, she's real. And you have very few filters, which I love about you. And which is so important right now, which who knew that was going to become the it girl thing.
Oh, me. 100%. Like 10-year-old me was like, just wait for the day that this is going to become powerful. I'm going to be magic. You guys are going to love this. Welcome to my unicorn status, y'all. Here's where we're at. Yeah.
I love that. And and here we are. And so now everybody's trying to drop the masks and drop the filters and drop the everything. And standing in front of somebody else's car, on the lot, it's not their car, to be more real. And you've always just kind of been a fact, a truth.
I just always celebrated the fact that I wasn't like everybody else, and I love that about me. That is my favorite thing about me, is that I rarely fit in with the crowd, that I really like the same things, that I'm always off doing my own thing. I was a nerd through and through my entire childhood. I still am a total nerd now. And I just follow what lights me up. And that has never struck a chord. Like, society does not like the things that light me up sometimes. People in my life have been confused by it. And I have continued to hold strong to the idea that I'm me. I'm doing life my way, because when I stand at the pearly gates someday, I need to answer for myself, not for what anybody else thought of my life. And I have been blessed and traumatized, if you will, the number of times I've lost really important people in my life. But there's something about people who have sat with death and with grief, who understand that the kind of bullshit that a lot of people prescribe to just doesn't matter anymore. And so it's given me a really different scope on, how I want to live my life and what I want to do with my life, and how quickly I want to do things. I mean, I've never been a sit and wait. I don't understand people that are like, oh, I want to do that, but maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year. I'm like, not everybody gets 6 months or a year. Like, it could literally be gone like that. So if you want something, make the effort to do it. Like, manifestation isn't bullshit. Manifestation, though, is really just action. Like, it's just, it's taking one step at a time and going, well, how do I achieve that? Okay, well, let's try this thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
And it's being positive that all the time the world is going to work out in your favor. And I have never once doubted, even in tragedy and trauma, I have never once doubted that the world is working in my favor. Always.
I love that. I love that. I have definitely doubted that. So I appreciate hearing from you that has not been the case, and that you embraced and still embrace that you didn't feel like you fit in. You weren't a societal norm, because that's poison. And I always worried that I wasn't. So I always I got the degrees so I could have the letters behind my name so I can be legitimate, all those things. But it's so refreshing to hear from you that, right, there's a way that is total freedom. And have you ever had a near-death experience?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was terminally ill for like a decade of my life, back in my 20s. And so I have faced death head on, and I have made my peace with death, which is something that I think freaks a lot of people out. So when people around me die, yes, it affects me. Yes, I am very much in the grief stage of things, but I also, it sounds really crazy to a lot of people, but I believe so much in the fact that the people who have passed actually are still sending me signals and guiding me. And, I've recently had this experience where my mom passed, like, it's been just over a month. My mom talks to me more now than she ever did any day she was alive.
Yeah.
She sends me signs and symbols. She is so freaking talkative that it is hard to grieve her, if you will, because she's so present in my everyday life. She shows up consistently. And so I've always just kind of like gone with the flow with that sort of stuff. And it's not to say that I haven't like done things that I regret, but here's the thing, you can always make another choice.
That's very true. I love that so much. Yeah, we do have choices. And, I totally get it. I feel what you're saying, and I appreciate you so much. And my near death experience was when I was really young and had a drowning in the Pacific. And, since then, it's so strange because I was pretty young, but as I'm watching my body be revived on the beach and I hear you have work to do, I misinterpret that for decades and just have 3 and 4 jobs, right?
Yes.
And
until you die. Yep.
Work harder. And then coming from an Asian American family, like, that's also ingrained.
Yeah.
And now I understand that my work is about helping people fully live.
Yeah.
And the death part of it is, I think we glamorize and are terrorized by the death experience, and having death in our system. It's just our ecosystem.
Yeah.
But I think that in the Western world, we handle it very poorly.
I would agree 100%.
Yeah. And I think, as you talk about your mom's passing and how she's more available to you now.
Oh yeah.
That has been my experience too. And I always say, I fix relationships and I can see your soul. And so when that's true, we have, is it comfort? Does it feel like comfort, or it's something else?
I would say that it feels very much like peace. Like there was, I mean, don't get me wrong. I went through all the like usual. There was the sadness, there was the bargaining, there was anger. Like I went through all the stages of grief the same way that everybody else does. But at the end of it, I think I went through it really quickly and that freaked people out. But it didn't freak me out. We grieve people before they ever pass, right? If you're somebody who has somebody that you're close to, congratulations, you're going to get your heart broken at least at some point in your life. That is the human experience. And what I was able to see, or what I've always been able to see sort of things, is it because they're there and they're guiding me, and because they're not gone, they're just in a different form, right? And I actually joke, but I'm dead serious, that I think I have a better relationship with my mother in death than I did in life, because I'm able to see her differently. In cleaning out her stuff, I was able to understand my mom in ways that I didn't understand her in life. In the way that she brings me signs, I see her differently. I experience her differently, and I see that healing that happened. That and I this is gonna freak people out, but I don't think that healing would have happened when she was alive.
Yeah.
The human constraint of who she was wouldn't have allowed it to be resolved in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not, my mom and I had no beef. We're different people. We just didn't, like, we loved one another. We just didn't totally understand or get one another. Which is an experience that I keep coming across. I keep meeting women who are like, my mom never understood me, right? There's like two categories. There's the ones who's like, my mom understood everything about me. And there's the ones who are like, my mom never understood anything. My mom didn't get me. But I also learned in her passing that she has lived vicariously through me all these years, because I lived a life that she wanted, but she didn't know how to get for herself, and she couldn't get for herself. So every time I traveled, while it scared the bejesus out of her, because she was like a safety at home kind of woman, she genuinely relished in hearing about my trips and like seeing the pictures and like hearing what I was doing and seeing the world through a different light. And I think she wanted that for herself, but she was the oldest of 7. There was never any money around. They grew up in hardship. And then she got married to my dad. They both worked really hard to give me a better life, which they have. And ultimately, she got to a point where she just, was too scared to sort of leave the nest, if you will. Right. She sort of reached a certain threshold where it was like, I'm too old. That's done for me and whatever. And she just lived like that. My dad, on the other hand, coming out of my mom's death, my dad has been really fascinating because he also needed his own surgery. He's also had to face up to his own death. Right. And now watching him recover, the thing that's pushing my dad through to recover right now is the idea of him and I going to Portugal together.
Wow.
He is holding on to this vision of him and I traveling together, which is something that when my mom was here, we never talked about it. That was not a thing. And so it's interesting to see, as components of our lives, as our relationships develop, how we actually are developing. And so I'm seeing this whole new side of my dad that even a month ago didn't exist, which is really interesting.
That is really interesting. And the power, like you say, we basically teach love. We talk about it in different ways. And when I'm doing, responding to a request for a proposal, an RFP, I definitely don't use the word love,
100%.
But it is definitely from a consulting and from a coaching perspective. And that barrier that you just talked about so eloquently about what is true, what is in alignment, what is soul truth versus what are patterning stories, brain safety mechanisms, ego, if you will, it wants to keep us safe. And so safe is familiar, not necessarily true or right. And right. And familiar comes from the stories we were handed before we had a choice.
100%. And so when I work with clients writing books specifically, so like whether they come in as a ghostwriting client and I'm writing the story they're telling me, or we're co-writing it together, or they're writing it on their own and I'm just editing it, the exact same experience occurs. They come in wanting to write from their ego. And the first thing that I, as the person working with you, has to do is give you a bit of an ego death. And that's the portion of truth that you dislike me greatly for, right? Because It's super uncomfortable because your whole persona, that mask that you have worn is that I'm so fucking cool. I'm so amazing. I've done all this, blah, blah, blah. And my job isn't to deter that, but my job is to start to peel the corner of the mask and say, well, what about this? Or have you thought about that? Or what about the person that doesn't believe this? How are they supposed to interact with this content? What does this mean for them? Right. And to be conscious and ethical and loving and kind in all of the work that we put out. So whether it's a legacy story that has a lot of trauma in it that we're going to put out into the world, whether it's you building a business and telling me how to grow and scale, whether it's mindset, I actually don't care about the topic that we're writing about so much as the ethics and morals behind it. And so I spend a lot of time in the belief systems that my clients actually work in, and that my clients' work in, if they're writing a business book, to actually figure out what it is that we need to put into the world so we're not perpetuating a pattern or a behavior that we don't want to see in the world. Right.
Absolutely.
And so there are clients I turn down their books because they don't match. I don't want to say they don't match my morals and ethics, because that's not true. I write for people all the time that do not believe the same thing that I believe. In fact, I find it very character building to work with people of incredibly different beliefs from my own. So I love working with people who don't believe what I believe, because I feel like we challenge each other. And it is a skill and a gift to enter into a relationship with somebody where you don't believe in what they're saying, and they're actually teaching you and showing you their side as you go. And the writing gets better. Don't hire yes men to work with you in any career path, right?
For anything, right?
Coaches, relationships, business, marketing, my accountant, for goodness sake. Yeah. I don't want somebody that's going to be a yes human in my world. I want somebody that's going to go, hey, have you thought of this? Have you done this? Have you thought of this other thing that maybe you didn't before? Those people expand our worldview and give us a better story to tell. And the more time we avoid those humans, the more tight and controlled our story becomes, and the less likely we are to see another perspective or another angle. Now, what I'm seeing in the world is that a lot of us have very tight-knit beliefs and systems, and anybody that doesn't fit that realm, we just shut it down automatically. Instead of saying, well, tell me why, and finding that curiosity. It doesn't mean that you have to believe them. And listen, there are times when, like, if we're so far different on the scale of ethics and morals, I might just be like, this is not worth the conversation right now. I can't. Yeah. But when I'm at my best, when my emotional capacity is complete, when my physical ability, my mental ability is there and it's strong, I want to have more conversations with people who aren't like me, because the only way I will truly understand others and truly understand the world is by allowing other people to tell me what they believe and why. And the why is more important than what they actually believe.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And I love that that's what you bring when you do your book. What do you call it? The book creating.
There's book coaching, there's creations, my writing retreats. There's it's basically anything. If you have a desire to put shit down on paper and actually tell your story, my job is to work with you for clarity. But I mean, you're going to have a bit of an existential crisis working with me, and that's good. Yeah. That's good. That's what I want you to have.
Personal growth. And just in case people don't know who you are, you've been a ghostwriter for a long time. Yeah. And you had your first, not only, but first New York Times bestseller as a ghostwriter when you were what age?
15. I wrote it when I was 14. It came out when I was 15, just before I turned 16. It was a New York Times bestseller before I turned 16 years old. And I mean, long story short, I learned a lot on that project. That was back, for the record, before the days of computer typing. So I actually hand wrote that bee by myself in paper.
And then didn't you get paid in like dog food or
something? I did. Yeah. The person that had offered me the contract, there was no contract. It was a verbal, and they reneged on the contract when the project was done. And listen, at the time, I remember it being traumatic. But again, keep in mind that ethos of everything works in my favor. I held on to that and I kept going, what's the lesson? What am I supposed to know here? What is this? And ultimately, her offering to pay me in dog food was what ultimately put me on the radar of the big 5 publishers, and her publisher specifically, And then they were smart enough to say, hey, if you can do this at 15, we need to keep you. So they hired me as a freelance ghostwriter, and I worked for them and a couple other big publishing companies throughout my career. So for years, I didn't actually tell anybody what I did because my contracts would just show up. I do the work, I get paid, life would move on. And publicly, I was known as this big event planner. I was planning celebrity weddings and I was on TV and I was doing all this stuff. And nobody actually knew that I could write unless you were specifically given me by a big publisher. And then in 2020, when the world shifted, I had looked at my husband honestly, we'd been married less than a year. He was still getting to know me at this point because we met and married in a month, as you know. And I told him I was going to quit my job because it was the middle of COVID. And I was like, look, running events right now is just nonsense. Like, I'm being paid to run Zoom meetings. This is not relationship building. This is a different ball of wax, and it's not what I'm here for. And I can impact the world better through my writing. And my husband thought I was nuts because he had no idea I was writing books at the time. But ultimately, I came out of the writer's closet, so to speak. I stepped away from the big five publishers. I made a moral and ethical decision based on what I was seeing for authors. And I chose to leave major publishing firms and go freelance because I wanted to basically pick and choose my clients, work with the people that I really felt like I could help. When you're in the traditional publishing realm, you don't get that option. You're just kind of handed a client, whether you like it or you don't. That's why I say I've written a lot of books for people that I disliked, a lot of books for people I've disliked. But now I get a chance to choose, and I can help my writers, if you will. I can now help them navigate the publishing and the realm that we're in without that drama and stress of being beholden to a publisher, because that's a different ball of wax. I'm paid by the publisher. At the end of the day, who pays my bills? It's not the writer, it's the publisher. And so now it's a different ballgame. Now I'm being paid by writers, which means I can share my wisdom and my secrets a little bit more. I can put them through into a different path that I think is a more profitable, a more ethical path for them. And we can talk about the pros and cons and the different types of publishing and the different types of books that can exist in the world. Publishing has changed pretty dramatically in the last 5 to 10 years.
Oh, the last year.
Yeah, like the landscape from like 15-year-old Crystals scribbling, on pen and paper under the covers at night has dramatically changed. Now I wouldn't know what to do without my laptop and the internet, right? And most of my clients used to come to me. Now we do this all the time. We have Zoom calls and chats. So it's much faster to get work done than it's ever been before. And there's more people producing books than ever before.
Right. So I have 2 questions based on what you just said. First of all, how many New York Times bestsellers have you had now as a ghostwriter?
I have 4, although I'll be shocked if I don't have a 5th by the end of 2026.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you and your author.
Thank you.
And I know you work with people online, and then you do the creations, which is all over the world.
I do.
For a couple of weeks to get.
Not even. Yeah, it's just a weekend. So I usually creations, there's a couple different options. I do a week-long version for people who really want to do an intensive. Most people come for the 3 days. So the 3 days is split between 1 day of kind of getting to know one another and starting opening up the creative field for ourselves. The second one is really focused on some logistics. How do we write? What should we write? How do we say certain things? What language or word magic are our clients looking for? And how to tap into the right belief systems. And then on the final day, they do a lot of writing, and there's individual one-on-one coaching and feedback. Most clients will continue their journey with me from there. It's almost like a kickstart to writing your book, if you will, that really kind of gets you in the mood, gets you in the flow. And then the week-long programs, oftentimes that's me one-on-one with a client. We pick a spot, we go somewhere for a week, and it's heads down and pens up, if you will. And we really kind of drill down into your book and get it done. I've done a couple books where we finish them in a week. Most of the time we get really far into it, but we don't quite finish it in a week. But we've had a couple.
It's amazing. And then you talked about, meeting and marrying your husband, Rob, who I adore, in a month.
Yes.
And knowing pretty obviously immediately that
Yep.
he was the one.
He was. Yeah.
And because of that, and because you've been a wedding planner and you believe in love and you are
Yeah.
you love the world, how many times have you and Rob been married?
We've been married 13 as of right now, with plans for more. So we met and married in a month, and we met for love, and we met, fell head over heels in love the first time we met. A few weeks went by. We ended up having our first date. We got engaged on our first date, married on the following Sunday. So it was like a week-long engagement, and then boom, we were married. Which is great. We'd both been married before, so we knew what we were in for. We signed a prenup, which I know seems like a naughty word to people, and quite frankly, it's the word that I'm shocked. Like, I feel like everybody needs a prenup. Choosing to be in love with somebody, choosing intentionally to make sure that it's fair and equitable no matter what happens, was important to us. So even though it was a week, we made sure that there was a prenup and it was fairly tight on what was and wasn't going to occur. And then, we were blessed with COVID. I know that's going to confuse the crap out of people, but we met and married. So we met in August, married in September. And then obviously COVID happened the following, like, February, March.
Wow.
So we had a COVID moon. We didn't have time for a honeymoon. I was actually in December and January, I was in LA, and then I was in New Zealand, and I caught the last plane out of New Zealand before they shut the world down. And so I made it home just in time to be home with my new spouse. And it was the greatest. There was no, in a traditional relationship, we have all these side quests players that exist, right? Like, you have your best friend and your mom and your dad and your cousin and your second sister twice removed and all that shit. And everybody's got an opinion about everything, right? Oh, I didn't like the way he said this to you. Oh, this seems like a red flag. Everybody's got an opinion. And the best thing that happened to Rob and I probably was the fact that because it was COVID, there was nobody around. There was nobody interfering. And when we would find out new things about each other, they were like, oh, that's surprising. We just had to find our way through it. We had to navigate our way through it and go, we're on each other's team. This isn't the best news I've ever heard, but hey, we can work it out. Let's figure it out. And so we really kind of got stronger, I think, because we had a solid foundation of a year and a half at least, where there was nobody else around. It was just us. And when stuff would come up, you'd go, well, okay, I didn't know that, but all right, I guess we can deal with it. And did we want out once or twice? Yeah, probably. Yeah,
That's
right.
normal. Yeah, that's
Right.
normal.
Totally normal. But we would always sit down and go, okay, at the end of the day, I'm here because I'm committed to you and we're on the same side. So this isn't ideal. How do we fix it? Or how do we, navigate it, whatever. But that was kind of our deal. So yeah, it's been 13 times. And if I get my way and the universe sees fit this year, come on, universe. I would really love to get back traveling because our deal is we renew our wedding vows in every country of the world that we travel. So I have plans for at least 4 more countries this year. So that'll put us at 17 weddings by the end of the year, something like that.
Love that. I love that. I love how you hold love, and because you and I both believe that everything is relationship, everything is connection, and you live that in so out loud, and I love that so much. And hanging out with you and Rob is such an exhilarating trip. And Fern, I don't want to leave Fern, the dog, out of it. But there's so much energy and connection, and there's so much, like, you guys communicate a lot.
I mean, we have to, right? Like, so the thing that I think surprises people is my husband and I both work from home. We are in each other's space pretty much 24/7. We get a break when either of us goes to the gym for an hour. And other than that, we're basically here together, right? So wherever we are in the world, we both are digital nomads. So we both work from wherever we are. We have always managed to kind of make it work. But the only way to make it work is through massive communication. Well, hey, honey, we're in a 1-bedroom apartment this week. What time do you have client meetings? Because my client meetings and your client meetings should probably not overlap or this is going to cause drama, right? So there's like that kind of logistical information, but there's also things like, in dealing with my grief, for example, we had to reset the rules again about how life was happening because there are days in grief that I don't have the capacity that I used to deal with things. I don't, like we really wanted to go to visit some friends this week. And I was just like, between having a sick dad right now and my mom just passing, I was just like, I'm so freaking tired, Rob. Like it's an hour and a half drive. I don't think I even have the capacity to drive it. And my husband stepped in and said, I'll do the driving. You nap in the passenger seat. Let's go see our friends, because that will make you feel better. But I understand that you're tired. Here you go. So we've had to navigate changing the rules a few times. And that was everything from like, I wasn't perimenopausal when we got married. I'm now. That changed the rules, right? Rob has had some challenges in his business and has opened new businesses. And I think he's got like 3 different businesses at this particular moment. So that has changed the rules. Me leaving events and coming into just full-time writing changed the rules for us. We moved from Ontario to BC. That changed the rules. And the only way we navigate that is to continuously have a conversation and continuously bring it up. And here's the thing. We both still have our patterns. We both still have shit that comes up. And what we've learned is that even when shit comes up, the fastest way forward for us is to go, same team. Hold up. Same team. Let's just figure out where the miscommunication is here. Because, and sometimes, like, I'm not a big fan of the word compromise. For the record, like in all the English language, the word compromise does not feel good in my soul. Like I do not like compromise. And where that kind of comes from when in my marriage, for example, is like people will just be like, oh, well, you have to compromise. Sometimes you have to do what he wants and sometimes I have to do what I want. Right. And my husband and I have said, no, we are not going to compromise. We're going to find a way to do things we want to do together, or it can become a solo pursuit that I don't need to be part of. So, for example, my husband loves golf. I couldn't give 2 shits about going to a golf course. I don't drink. So going and riding around on a golf cart and drinking isn't much fun for me. Right. I just find it hot and sticky. Not my fave to be standing around hot and sticky all day. And I really dislike the banter in golf because it's usually just boy talk that makes me kind of gross out and I don't want to be there, right? So we have had this discussion. And at one point it was like, well, the compromise would be I don't go, or the compromise would be that you do go. And I'm like, neither of those options work for me. So how about this? How about you can go golfing with your friends? I will go do something with my friends when you golf. Mm-hmm. But the deal is, if you're going to go golfing, you have to check with my schedule as well. It can't just be like, well, it fits in my schedule, so I'm going. No, let's have a conversation, see how it plays into my schedule. And so now when husband plans his golf events, great, have at it, bye-bye, enjoy. I know that I get to either have a video call with one of my friends and we can chit chat, or I might go out with some friends, or I might just decide that, hey, I've got like 5 hours right now and I'm going to take myself to a movie and I'm going to go for a massage. Yeah. But the conversation stopped the bitterness that I was feeling about being left for 5 hours by myself without any warning, right? Because naturally the tendency with him was like, well, I'm single. So he would just be like, I'm going golfing, and tell me 5 minutes before he's leaving. Right. And we had to have a discussion that doesn't feel kosher in my world. Right. That like I just need like, when are you doing this? I will plan something else for myself to do, but you can't just run off 5 minutes beforehand and go do it, because that doesn't feel like you put any thought behind like me and my life either. Right.
I love that so much, because most people that I end up working with, leadership couples, they will just be like, oh, well, he did that thing and now I'm going to take it out on him. It's not even conscious. I think it's subconscious. Yeah. Now it comes out, it like oozes out in the weirdest ways that people wouldn't tie back to feeling not appreciated, not respected. And it's just, it might be something small, like I'm not making your coffee, or I'm not doing your dishes, or I'm not taking care of your kids, whatever, Yeah. So it's a fascinating thing when we don't have clarity. And I love that so much. I love how clarity is important. Like I defined through 30 years of work, the trust pyramid. And the foundation is presence, full presence. On top of that then is emotional safety, which is in a lot of ways. On top of that is curiosity and playfulness.
Yep.
And those three things create the pinnacle of trust. And a lot of people think trust is the foundation,
No.
but it's not. It can't be, because it's too easily wonked. So, but these other things, like if we have the solidness of being present and having the clarity and also being curious, like you're describing, it's so exciting to me it's always exciting to me to talk with you anyway. But I love how you hold, helping people bring their books into the world.
Yeah.
I love how you hold relationship. I love how you hold friendship. I love being in your world as your friend. And just the magic that you bring is so unique. Really unique. In fact, you're in my phone from when we first met that first day as Crystal Adair-Benning, MF, goddess, literary extraordinaire.
So cute.
So yeah, and it's all true. And I have one more question for you. Or two more. Number one is, how do we find you? How can our friends here who are listening?
Oh. I mean, I'm very elusive. I tend to hide behind black curtains of books all day long. But if you can spot the heart-shaped glasses, you're in good stead. I would say my website is the fastest way to find me. So it's WRITE wordmagic.com. That's the fastest way to find me. I'm always on social. So whether you hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, it doesn't really matter. I'm kind of all over the place. But yeah, that's the fastest way to find me. Or send, unicorn sparkly, like, smoke signals. I'm cool with that too. Yeah.
That's one to be fine for us.
Yeah, 100%.
And then the other question I have for you is, what is the impact that you want people to have from your life and your work?
It's that they have the impact that they want in the world. My jobs, whether it was event planning or book writing, whatever, it's actually not about me. And I think that is something that more of us could take to heart in our work, is that it's actually not about us. It's about the people that we're helping. So I never regret any of the books that I wrote for people that don't align necessarily with who I was or who I am, because they still have a place in this world. And it's still the thing that somebody else felt so strongly that they had to put into words. And they asked me for the honor of using my gift to help them put it out into the world. Right. And so for me, it's just about helping people realize their dreams and helping people find clarity in their words. I happen to have a gift for words. I happen to be good at sitting down and stringing them together in cohesive sentences that make you actually fucking feel something. That is my gift in the world. And if I can use that to help others express their gifts, that's really the best I can ask for. I don't need Oprah's couch. I do need a plane ticket, preferably somewhere warm, and a laptop. Otherwise, I'm good.
The same way. Like, yeah, just get me on a plane somewhere. I love this conversation. I love you so much. I want everybody, please connect with Crystal, because she will absolutely change your life for the better. And I guarantee it. And it's going to happen. So thank you so much, Crystal, for your time and your friendship and helping people in the world do the same.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
You dove in. This is the Soul of Connection. Subscribe now. Stay close. Your full life depends on it.